All right, so this is our last quiz of the semester, quiz number 15. There are two sections that we're going over with this. Okay, 414, which was on writing out functions given your solutions already, and then the second one was long division. So let me show you a little bit of those two sections. Okay, so first one, we're going to write a function given the following solutions. Now I know usually on the test they make it a lot more wordy. I think they say like write a function of least degree. I forgot what else they'll say, but basically they're gonna want you to write a function if they give you a couple of answers. Okay, so for part A, let's just say that these are the answers they give you. Okay, so these are the solutions that they're giving you. And you got to write a function based on those solutions. So what you're going to do is you're going to write out your f of x here. And remember, the clue that I gave you guys was that when you write out like your first parenthesis x, right, you're going to get your -2 and you're going to change its sign. So it's really a +2. You're going to put it right there. For your 3, you're going to write it as a -3. And for your 1, you're going to write it as a -1. Okay? So once you do that, the rest of this is just you distributing things. Okay? So let's go ahead and distribute. We're going to distribute x times x and x times -3. So notice I'm just kind of taking my time with this. I'm not trying to rush everything too quickly. So x times x, that's x squared. X times -3, that's -3x. And now I'm going to distribute this bottom portion, okay? -2 times x, -2, 2 times x, 2 times -3. So that's going to give me a +2x, a -6. And remember, I haven't touched that x minus 1 at the end, so I'm just going to write it right here at the end. We're going to simplify the inside of that longer parenthesis there. So this is going to be x squared. Minus x minus 6, and you still have the x minus 1 there. Now notice, the hard part to this is supposed to be writing out the function initially, the very first step, but after that it's supposed to be easy, the distribution stuff, but I know sometimes that can be a little complicated for some, so just take your time, like I said. So let's go ahead and distribute this x. It's going to distribute into all 3 of those terms. So I'm going to put x times x squared, that's x cubed. X times -x, that's -x squared. And x times -6, that's -6x. And then you're going to distribute the -1 over to all 3 as well. So -1 times -6, -1 times -x, and -1 times x squared. So -1 times x squared is -x squared. -1 times -x, that's a +x. And -1 times -6, that's a +6. And now you're going to find your like terms. Okay, so like terms are right here. This is -x squareds. And then the -6x with the +x. Those are like terms. So I'm going to put those together. So I have x cubed minus 2x squared, that's the yellow stuff. The blue stuff is minus 5x, and then the plus 6, and you're done. This is your function. Okay? You have to add the like terms together, yeah. But once you're done with that, then just leave it alone. I know I'm kind of moving a little quickly, like I said, but I got to get 4 of these things done in less than 35 minutes, and some of the problems take a little while, so I'm trying to make sure we have enough time. But again, they will give you answers. You're going to have to write them out in parentheses and distribute everything out, okay? Most people would say these are easy problems, and I could agree. You're not trying to solve anything, but it gets really messy. So you can easily mess up in your multiplication, so be very careful, okay? Take your time with it. So that's going to be one type of problem that you're going to see. Another type of problem of the same instructions might look something like this. Let's say, so they give you those. You guys remember how many solutions have they given me here? Like how many do you actually see? 2. But how many are there? There's only 3. Now, I know you're saying 4 because you're thinking a positive 4, negative 4, right? But we're not supposed to do that with just normal numbers, only the imaginary ones. So right here, there's actually a positive 2i as well. But the 4 is just a 4. We don't have to do plus or minus 4, right? Because if that was the case, then over here I'd have 6 different answers, right? Like that would not be good. That'd be taking us forever. So yeah, when you have the imaginary unit, then you do the plus and minus, okay? So I have 3 things that I'm going to have to do. Now remember what I told you. Keep the imaginary units that match. Now right here it's kind of easy. But if you have 2 sets, keep the ones that match next to each other, right? Look at the notes from what I did before. So that would have been... so look at these right here. I had the answers of 3i and 2i, and then we said, oh, well, that means minus 3i, minus 2i are also answers. But notice how I kept the 3 i's together. I highlighted them in yellow. And then I kept the 2 i's together. I highlighted them in blue because notice the next step, cancellation occurs. That's what we want. We want cancellation to happen so it becomes easier for us to do the problems. Okay? So remember to keep your imaginary units together. Okay, so let me go back to the review here. So f of x is equal to, well, positive 4 was going to be written out as a minus 4. And then negative 2i, that's going to be x plus 2i. And a positive 2i will be x minus 2i. Okay, remember, I'm keeping the imaginary units together. I am going to multiply these first because remember, special things happen when you multiply the imaginary units together. I don't want to do the x minus 4 times the x plus 2i first because that's going to just make a mess. But if I put the 2 imaginary units together and multiply those, we're going to see cancellation. So I want to do those first. All right, so I'm going to multiply x times x times negative 2i, as my first step. Okay, so I'm going to leave x minus 4 here. And x times x, that's x squared. X times negative 2i is negative 2xi. And now let's multiply the 2i into the other 2 here. So here are my lines showing that. So a positive 2i times x is a positive 2xi. And a positive 2i times a negative 2i is a negative 4i squared. Now again, what happens to those middle terms? Negative 2xi plus 2xi? What happens there? Right here. These cancel out, right? They're the same thing, just different signs. So this is exactly why we want to do those I terms first. Okay? And what's going to happen to this right here? Right now it says minus 4i squared. What is it going to become? A plus 4. Because what's I squared? Negative 1. What's negative 4 times negative 1? Positive 4, right? That's going to become a positive 4 as, and I'm going to show you the work here. Because you remember, I'm just going to put a real quick recall. I squared is negative 1. So just a little bit of notes on the side, just so you know why we're going to write a plus 4 right now. So this is x minus 4, x squared plus 4. Okay, and now I got to distribute that. So let's do that. X times x squared, x times 4. So that's x cubed plus 4x. And now let me do the negative. Negative 4 times x squared, negative 4 times 4. That's going to be negative 4x squared minus 16. Now, just so you know, this is my actual answer, but a lot of times on solutions and stuff like that, multiple choices, they're going to want you guys to write it out in order from highest degree to lowest. So just to kind of do it the way they'd like, I'm going to write x cubed minus 4x squared plus 4x minus 16. Because they like it usually in descending order, so highest power to lowest power. But if you give me the answer right above, I'm going to be fine with it, okay? But they usually want you to write it in a nice, orderly fashion. Highest power to lowest power. Now, before I move on, any questions on A or B? Any questions on A or B? So B is supposed to be tougher, right? Because you have the imaginary stuff. So you got to include your own solutions, right? You got to look for those and put them in yourself. A is more straightforward. Like they only gave you numbers, nothing tricky about that. So you guys are good? Again, quiz tomorrow, homework due tomorrow. All right, example number 2. I got A and B for this, and that's basically it. So these are going to say divide. This is from yesterday. And we're going to do one of the easier types, one of the harder types, and then we're done. Okay? So here's one of the easier types. And we'll put a... I'm going to do that just to make it something a little tricky at the very end. But this is supposed to be one of the easier ones. We do not use long division for this. Do you guys remember why? Yeah, it's only one term at the end, right? 3x squared. If it was 3x squared minus 5, then yes, long division is required. Okay? But since it's just one term, we're not going to use long division. Okay? So, here we go. For these, all you have to do is rewrite each term divided by what's given. What's given for you to divide by. So 3x squared. So 6x squared divided by 3x squared minus 12x divided by 3x squared. Like I said, I made this one a little challenging at the very end. At first it looks pretty normal. So, you're supposed to divide. 4 divided by 3. Can I do that? I mean, without writing decimals? No, I'm just going to leave it 4/3. And what's x cubed divided by x squared? Yeah, it's a 1, right? Well, not a 1, but the power of 1, right? So it's x to the first. So I'm just going to write 4/3 x. All right, the next one, plus 6 divided by 3, that's 2. And x squared divided by x squared, it's 0. In other words, it cancels out. It goes away, right? So there's no x's there. On that one, no x's. Now, you guys had one like this on your homework yesterday. 12 divided by 3 is 4. What's x divided by x squared? So what does the power come out? It's 1 minus 2. Huh? Close. It's not 1, but it's close to 1. It's 1 minus 2, right? What's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. Okay? And that's a perfectly good answer. Or, if you want to write it like this, it's acceptable as well, like this. Because remember, a negative power brings it down to the denominator, right? So it would be x to the first on the bottom. Either answer is okay. Depends on what you'd like. Okay, but any answer is just fine. Okay? Questions on that one? So there's going to be, I think, like 2 problems like this, and then there's going to be 2 problems like this last one. So part B, we're going to do a long division problem. So let's see. we'll do 2x, we'll do 2x cubed. There's 4x squared minus 3x plus 4. And we're going to divide by, let's do x minus 3. So this is our last example. I made it a little bit on the longer side just so that you can see the process occur a couple times, not just like once or twice, but maybe 3 times at least. So I guess you could consider this one of the harder problems. Because remember I told you guys yesterday, the harder problems aren't really called the harder problems because they're more difficult to do. They just became longer problems. That's why they call them the harder problems. But it's not because they're more difficult. It's the same as doing the easier ones, the shorter ones, just that these require more steps. So that's what we're doing. We're doing one of the harder ones. Okay? So remember, this is all based on third grade procedure, right? When you do your long division in third grade, it's the same thing we're going to do here. Okay? So 2x cubed plus 4x squared minus 3x plus 4. And that goes, like I said yesterday, that goes in the house, right? That's usually the way they refer to it. And then outside, you're going to put your x minus 3. Okay? Now, you have to ask yourself, x and 2x squared, or 2x cubed. How do I make x into 2x cubed? What do I multiply it by? 2x is almost right. There's something missing. Not negative. It has to stay positive. So, yeah, it should be squared. So 2x squared. That's what I want to multiply it by. 2x squared. So let me go ahead and multiply, remember, by distribution, right? I got to distribute it backwards. So 2x squared times x, that's 2x cubed. 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. And we subtract, right? That's what we always do. We subtract. So 2x cubed minus 2x cubed is 0. What's 4x squared minus negative 6x squared? So think about that. What's 4x squared? Yeah, 10x squared. So 10x squared. And then we got to drop the next term. Okay, now pay attention to this term right here. I need x to become 10x squared. What do I multiply by? That's too much. 10x is actually what you want. Because if you multiply by 10x squared, then you get 10x cubed, right? We just want to multiply by 10x, only 10x. Now remember, this is the only thing you're going to multiply when you're doing this over here, okay? You're not multiplying by 2x squared plus 10x, just the 10x, okay? So, 10x times x, that's 10x squared. Let me get rid of that little line there. And 10x times negative 3 is negative 30, negative 30x. And we're going to subtract. All right, 10x squared minus 10x squared is 0. Negative 3x minus negative 30x. That's going to come out to 27x. And let's drop this 4. So last step here. Remember, once you drop everything, then you're on your last steps. Okay, so we've dropped everything now. So I need x to become 27x. So what do I multiply it by? Say again? If I want x to become a 27x, what should I multiply by? Well, if I want x to become a 27x, shouldn't I multiply by 27? Right? Do I need to multiply by x's if it already has one? No, right? So it's just going to be a positive 27. Okay? So I'm going to get this 27, and I'm going to multiply it times x, and I'm going to multiply it times negative 3. Okay? So 27 times x is 27x. And 27 times negative 3 is, what would that be? 21, 6, 7, 81. So that's a negative 81. And we're going to subtract. So here we go. Last thing, and then we're going to write our answer. 27x minus 27x is 0. 4 minus a negative 81. What is that? 4 minus a negative 81. So in other words, we're adding, right? 4 plus 81. That's 85. And we're done. So you got to write your answer. Remember, I color-coded this for you guys in your notes, right? The yellow one was here. The blue one was down here. And the green one was over here. And your answer was supposed to be your quotient, which was yellow, plus or minus your remainder, which was blue, over your divisor, which was green. Okay? So here's your answer. 2x squared plus 10x plus 27. Now, since my remainder is positive, I'm going to put plus 85 over x minus 3. Like I said, it's not that this one is harder, it just takes longer to do. Okay? You're going to have one like this on your quiz and then one that's shorter. Okay? So you'll have 2 long division problems, 2 of the smaller division ones, the ones that we did right here. You have 2 of those. You're going to have 2 of these where you have imaginaries, and you're going to have 2 of these where there's just normal numbers. And that's going to be your 8 problems. Okay? So, you guys have any questions on number 1, A or B, number 2, A or B? I'll kind of go back here so you can keep writing. All right, if not, that is the review.